Um, I figure don't ask me why. Please don't ask me why. I'm sure there's a reason why. There's always a valuable reason why I would share anything that I would. Um, because of the way that hierarchies work between a, a black hole hierarchy, right? And then you have white light, spiritual hierarchies, right? There is a difference between a clan mother and a guardian, and I'm a guardian. And it's not that she's not a guardian because she's a mother, okay? Because the clan mother is a guardian, okay? But when you understand why you incarnate in a fallen system, different folks have, how would I put this? Like Patty Broussard is what you would euphemistically call a fixer. So you know there are fixers on the other side when you get into the polarity game, right? See, I'm an oversoul polarity integrator, so I've already certainly shared with you, I do grid work, okay, which is different. So where I go and what I experience and the methods that we employ, just like when I was a child, I'm scanning the battlefield environment, okay, which means you got to know something about artificial intelligence. So we have like mission statements. Most folks know what those words mean, a mission statement. So we're doing missions, right? So that means it's like having, I've mentioned this before, it's like having a roadmap in your back pocket. So it simply means that I do different work. But what I do is I take my liberties with her. Any clan mother. It doesn't make any difference who it is. Simply because I have a relationship with an eternal son. That's where I get my instructions. Okay? The Grand Creator. So I know where I'm supposed to be, when I'm supposed to be there, because you implicitly trust your journey, because I am what love is, it goes on forever. Right? So we're not followers. Okay? It's like a trailblazer. Because you don't fear the unknown. Because love is the absence of fear. So, like I mentioned in the previous video that I did, like having met Michelle Martin, it was not a coincidence that her and I hooked up and found each other on a motherboard. Okay, we could find each other wherever we are because the level of consciousness, being connected to the primal sound field, the pre-phase matter field. You're experiencing eternal unconditional love through your own heart. She's androgynous, just like I am. So that means higher states of consciousness will naturally find each other on a motherboard and connect with each other to do the work that we do. See, so that is a little different. That's grid work, right? A planetary Merkaba system that fell in spirit battle, right? In a negative magnetic polarity space, right? So, it's it works a little differently, you know. Only that the pathway is like my timeline, for example, is very, very crooked. It's like it doesn't make any sense. It would not make sense to the average person. Why would you be there? Why would you choose to be in a homeless shelter? What's the matter with you? You could go make a gazillion bucks in Wall Street. What's the matter with you? See? Sometimes I have to check myself on that. You know, am I getting a redirect from the AI and I'm not realizing it? No, because it doesn't matter, does it? When you're an eternal energy being, does it matter? No, because wherever we are, wherever I'm at is exactly where I'm supposed to be with my energy at the moment that I'm there, wherever that is. Because it means that I'm there on behalf of God, because that's the energy that I run on. That's what it's like to run a full-blown magnet, which means it's not either or, it's only one. That's an eternal sun. So when you know that, because you are that, then that means that I implicitly trust wherever I'm at is where I'm supposed to be. Because the energy that I'm running on is directing me. The director. the director of programming. Okay. Deprogrammers, right? Clear the slate. Yeah, and so it's what's interesting about this is that in my previous video, the sum of it is actually what you're seeing by virtue of the stuff that Sheriff Grady just brought out recently in the last, a couple of days, about a large organized criminal outfit. Okay, and who are they stealing from? That's the snake eating its tail. They're going after corporate enterprises because they're the ones that are producing what? New products, and they have warehouses. Home Depot, right? What's the other big one with the blue sign? I can't remember the name of it. They're big warehouses, and tools are expensive. People make money using tools, right? Carpenters, plumbers, electricians, house builders, right? Hey, I don't got to go to Home Depot and pay $400 for this. I can get it online through somebody else or word of mouth, the Coconut Wireless, for $100. So what we're having now is we're talking about large-scale grand theft operations, which means these are formations of consciousness that represent the AI that's going after itself. Because the formation of the black hole itself is now feeding on itself. So now you have a large network, right, that's going after the larger network, which means these beings are going after the corporations from which they're being produced, for which all those people that are working for those corporations are getting paid, right, to live in the houses on a Truman Show set, right, in which they go into these stores, and what now they use their money to buy. So you realize that the corporation keeps losing more and more of what it was once using money to acquire from nature, right? So now you have other vampires that are vampiring on other vampires. Okay? It's happening on this island. It's happening over in California, right? It's happening in Florida, and these are large cartels. This is not just what's happening is you're having smaller little like gang groups. Hey, let's form a network. That's a formation of consciousness. Now we're going to go after these stores. So imagine you had organized formations of consciousness that are out hitting all the Home Depots in Florida. Then they network to do it in Georgia. Then they know it. And then they want to clean. So imagine that every Home Depot across the United States gets their clock cleaned. Right? Because they run on an MRP system, if you know what an MRP system is. That's a material requirement planning. If you go back to the 60s and 70s, you know, they went from a certain, it's just like a library, a bioplasma circulation library. Everything is held in memory by the AI, right? The CA records. And so what you have here back in the 70s, when I was working for one of those companies, they used a manual system to do what? Log information, log data. So if you're in the business of selling stuff, then you need a customer who's got money in order to sell it. That's an exchange rate of distribution of electrons, protons, and neutrons in a water distribution table graphed on a motherboard in a planetary software system. Okay, so we were using manual systems. Now they wanted to make it automated. So for example, if I was in charge of production control, and I worked directly with sales as being in charge of production control, I'm going to go out, if he comes up to me because he's on the phone with a guy in Russia with a nuclear power plant, and he wants to sell these highly expensive valves because of the materials from which they're made, like very exotic metals. How soon can we ship these valves out, say an order of 100, right? And then I'd go to my sheet and go, well, it requires all these materials, which means I got to pull 40 parts out of inventory, but then we got to make 15 parts on machines inside our plant. And it would take us 2 weeks because we're out of 2 parts. I'd have to order those because we haven't had an order like this in 3 years. So we don't want to hold certain things in memory, do we? if they're not being circulated. So let me go out and check and do a physical check to make sure that we have enough, right? Because it may be that the guy that works in the stock room was not reporting the numbers correctly because he came to work drunk that morning. Sure enough, I go out there, hey, somebody marked the number on the box, said there was 16 left. I went and looked in the box. He forgot to account because when he was pulling an order to use those parts to put something together, he forgot to put the note in there. Let's just run it with a full AI. Not a fully automated system. So we're gonna depend on another number cruncher, okay? That's not affected by emotional stuff or relation stuff, which means the central nervous system. We don't want to have to rely on a central nervous system that is having to do the math. We're going to let an artificial intelligence do all the math. That was a material requirement planning system they set up, where all the companies were going to, just like Walmart. You know, as soon as you pull something off the shelf and you go through and scan it, it's automatically deleted. So that number that's based on the exchange rate across the planet is now deducted, right? So now you get to see how the patterns work with behavior and how the Truman Show works and how that works directly with quantum probability function and what we call architects of the future, to hold people's minds captive to that model. Okay? So now you have smaller formations of consciousness that are growing into larger networks of consciousness that are forming their own cartels. And now they're hitting all these different stores because now they want to turn it. Because why should I have to go to work for somebody as a battery slave when I can just steal everything from these corporations? And the corporations are represented by what? The AI. So what you have is droning assets, folks with no souls, that are connected up with the AI, which is black hole consciousness that is feeding on other units of black hole consciousness. That's the snake eating its tail, isn't it? Till the head's gone. So this accelerates. That's one of the things that I'm on, is the acceleration of how fast it's eating at its tail and which to separate between the worlds they live in, which is their whole, and the ones we live in, which is what love is. See how that works? Have a great day. I love you all. Be good to yourselves.